Hey friends, in this part we are looking at the top security threats in the cloud world. Whether you are operating on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, you will have to be aware of these security threats. Now, this is a very important topic from a certification standpoint. Second, if you are preparing for job interviews, this will be helpful there as well. It does not matter if you are not a security person. Still, if you are preparing for interviews to get into cloud, you should know this. You may be appearing as a data engineer, as an architect, as a consultant, whatever. This is not a topic which is only specific to security consultants. It also applies to other roles. Now let us quickly discuss. There are few points which are very important. First is DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks. Each of the cloud product, they have their own services to handle this. What does this mean? There is a malicious attempt to disrupt the normal traffic. For example, you have a website amazon.com, and normally there are say 100k users uh, at any point in time, concurrent users, and you try to mess around with it. You spike it up to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and bring the servers down. So that is what the bad players will do it. If you want to stop it, in the AWS world, you have a service called AWS Shield. So this is a service which will maximize availability and responsiveness. So see what happens is if there is a spike up done by the bad players and your services go down, application goes down, then there is a dissatisfaction of the customer. Okay, so here you can maximize the availability and the uptime using this service. This is where Shield resides, and before that you have WAF, firewall manager, and you have all the other services like load balancer, etc. here. Similarly, on the Azure world, you have Azure DDoS protection service. So this is a service which will help you to prevent exhaustion of the application resources. It will be available for a higher period of time. So this is a diagrammatic representation. You have DDoS protection here, and these are the other services and resources. And these are some of the benefits of using this service. It learns real time, so it can adopt very fast. It constantly looks for traffic patterns 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It has rapid response system. Okay, so that was on Azure. How about Google Cloud? Google Cloud has a service called Cloud Armor. See, this is very important for certifications as well as job interviews. Even if you are working on live projects, you should know that, man. So this is a service which has two responsibilities: denial of service and web attacks. So this is what it is able to do. It will detect and mitigate attacks. It has a ML based mechanism to help detect the DDoS attacks. Okay, so this is too much information on DDoS. Let us look at what other security concern is there. Common web exploits. This is something which you should know. There are so many questions on all of these 4 or 5 topics. Okay, on AWS world, how do we handle it? We handle it through WAF. WAF helps to protect from common exploits. From an architectural standpoint, this is where WAF is placed. These are some of the 3 use cases: filter web traffic, prevent frauds, and administer WAF with APIs. For example, you know, if a hack always happens from a certain country, you can block those IPs, or a region or a city or whatever. Okay, how about on Azure platform? You again have Azure WAF. This provides powerful protection for web apps. So it has comprehensive protection, real-time visibility, and you can create custom rules to prevent malicious attacks. You can protect web apps with managed rule sets. You can meet the security requirements with agentless deployment. You can improve visibility into security and analytics. So there are some SIEM tools in Azure. So you always remember there are 2 things which are important: SIEM and PIM. Both are important for security. So this will integrate with the SIEM tools in Azure. And this way you are able to achieve organization compliance very fast. Needless to say, you can improve security real time, and you can monitor the alerts and logs very fast, almost real time. Okay, how about on the Google world? You have Google Cloud Armor, same service which provides DDoS attack prevention as well. So Cloud Armor, it will provide you help with DDoS as well as web attacks, mitigate attacks against the workloads. So if you see here, it has DDoS prevention as well as web attack prevention, and these are all managed protection services. These are the key features: adaptive protection like real time almost, and hybrid and multi-cloud deployments. It will work. It has pre-configured WAF rules. Plus there is bot management and rate limiting. Rate limiting means it will prevent your applications from a large volume of requests. That way, your resources, cost, and etc. In the cloud world, compute is very expensive, so you will have to pay for it. So if you have very large loads coming in by the bad players, your cost will go very high. So that rate limiting is possible with this service. Okay, so we understood common web exploits. This will also take care of SQL injection to some extent. Now, the third risk that happens from a security standpoint is accidental exposure of credentials. You have stored password, but it gets hacked. So what to do? In the AWS world, you have a service called Secrets Manager. So this is a service where you can hold passwords, certificates, and so on, etc. It is very difficult to hack. It will almost impossible. It is just like the brain of a girl. You cannot know what is going on in her mind, whom she likes, whom she doesn't like. Even if she's with you, she may be liking someone else. You cannot know it, man. So it is very confusing, but this is very safe. Okay, so what it will do, it will securely encrypt the secrets are encrypted, and it is has a feature of rotation of the keys. So from an architecture standpoint, this is how it is placed. You have secrets manager, and then you have other services interacting with the secrets manager. So you can store the secrets securely, you can automate the secret rotation, you can manage access with fine-grained policies. These are the features or use cases where you can use this service. Okay, but how about in the Azure world? You have Azure Key Vault. So you can keep cryptographic keys as well as other secrets in here. See, in AWS, if you want to keep cryptographic keys, you keep it in KMS. There is a separate service. But here you have the same service where you can put passwords, encrypted keys, and etc. You can also put certificates. It will automatically take care of SSL and TLS certificates, which is used for encryption in transit. Again, the advantages are like data protection and compliance, all of the control, none of the work. Like with very little work, you can take all the control. You can boost performance and achieve a lot of scale ups. Okay, so how about in the Google Cloud world? You have to use Secrets Manager. So here you can store API keys, passwords, certificates, and other sensitive data. So you can build more secure applications using Secret Manager. So it makes least privilege made easy for as a best practice purpose. We always try to ensure that principle of least privilege is followed. It simplifies the lifecycle management and it enables powerful auditing. These are the built-in features. Okay, now we know in different cloud world how to manage accidental exposure of credentials, or how to prevent, not manage, how to prevent. The fourth thing which is very important to maintain is data privacy and confidentiality. So in order to achieve it, you got to do encryption and masking of the data. Now what are the services which is available? So these are the services for encryption. AWS KMS, it's called the key management service. You can keep the keys here, create their control, it will encrypt and digitally sign your data. This is where you have KMS, it creates the KMS keys. You can encrypt and decrypt the data using these keys. It will sign and verify, generate and export data keys. You can do all of these things here. And then you have all the services here which will make use of these keys. Okay, in the Azure world, you have Azure Key Vault. So here you can keep the cryptographic keys and other secrets. So you can create and import the encryption keys in minutes. You can increase the security and control, have more control over the keys, and applications will have no direct access to the keys. So that's on the Azure world. On the Google Cloud world, you got Google Key Management. So the Cloud Key Management, it will help with management of the encryption keys on Google Cloud. It can also help you with applying hardware security models effortlessly. It will help with delivering scalable and centralized fast cloud key management. So this is how you manage encryption. But what about masking? Masking is stuff that you do not have a separate service, but you will have to use some built-in functions which is available as a part of, for example, Azure Data Factory or AWS Glue. They will have these inbuilt functions. So for example, you have something called dynamic data masking. These apply to these databases on the Azure world, and these are the masking logic and the functions. For credit card, you use these. For emails, you use these. For random numbers and text, you use these. For example, there is a text, you do not want to display it, so you can use a custom text which will mask it. So that's about masking. So we covered to some extent data privacy in this case. Now let us look at regulatory compliance. In the AWS world, we use AWS compliance. So before going on a cloud platform, you want to understand the compliance standards. You can see it from AWS compliance. It includes these compliance: HIPAA, HITECH, FedRAMP, GDPR, and so on. So these are the advantages. It inherits the latest security controls on AWS. It streamlines and automates compliance, and automated compliance reporting is available. Now you all know in the cloud world, compliance is a shared responsibility. Both the product, for example, AWS, and the customer has responsibility on a shared basis. So if you want to access the compliance reports, Amazon Artifact is a service you got to use, and these questions will come in the exam, certification exam. Now on the Azure world, we have the Azure Security Center, and on the Google world, we have Google Compliance Reports Manager. Now the Compliance Report Manager, it will also give you all reports around the latest ISO certificate standards, SOX compliance, self-assessments, and so on. Okay, so for compliance, we have these services. So we have now addressed the regulatory compliance area on the cloud platforms. Let us look at the last important topic for this video is data loss prevention. And this is what most of the industry people are worried. They do not want to lose their data. The one of the topmost reason why people from on-premises are not willing to go to cloud to a great extent is they are worrying about data loss. In order to do that, we want to involve encryption, data classification, and policy-based protection together. For example, if you see in the AWS world, you got KMS. KMS I already discussed in the initial part of the video when we were talking encryption. But let us look at Macy. Using Macy, you can discover and protect your sensitive data. For example, you are having some documents on AWS S3, and what you are looking at is you want to know which of these documents have sensitive PII data. For example, Aadhaar number, social security number, and so on. That's where you plug Macy. It will scan through all the documents and it will tell you that, hey, you know what? These are the 2 documents. I found a credit card number. These are the 5 documents. I find the social security number. And then now you know you got to encrypt it or you want to remove those documents from there unless it is protected. So that is the advantage of Macy. And then you got S3 bucket policies. You can leverage that to ensure that who accesses it, who does not. You can prevent authenticated users without appropriate permissions from accessing these S3 resources. Okay, that's about AWS world. But what about Azure world? In Azure, you got Key Vault where you can use the encryption keys, you can store it. But you know what? I tried to scan through a lot of services on Azure. I could not find a replacement of AWS Macy in Azure. We cannot discover and classify the documents saying that these have PII like credit card numbers on it. Okay, but on the Google world, you do this through Google Key Management. You can manage the encryption keys here. So we already discussed this in the initial part of the video when we discussed encryption. And then you have Google DLP. Now it is similar to Macy on AWS. It will discover, classify, and protect your most sensitive data. So it will identify the sensitive data and will tell you, hey boss, this is risky. Your data sets are here. It will reduce the data risk with obfuscation and de-identification methods like masking and tokenization. And it works with both structured as well as unstructured data sets. So this is very important. So we just covered the last topic for this video, that is prevention of like data loss. So to summarize, we looked at the top security threats in the cloud world, very important for interviews as well as certification exams. All cloud architect certification, data security, security specialty, all of these certifications. Even the first one, the basic one, that is the cloud practitioner. So we covered 6 key areas. One is the DDoS, the other is common web exploit, third is accidental exposure of credentials, data privacy, regulatory compliance, and data loss prevention. I hope you find this part insightful. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. Please drop in your comments if you think there is any other topic that you want me to cover. We will see you in the next part.